So you clicked on this video. Maybe it was the title, I woke up at 5 a.m. for 30 days. Here's what happened. There's something about these kinds of challenges, isn't there? A promise of change, a peek into what's possible if we just push ourselves a little bit harder. We're drawn to the idea of a structured experiment on ourselves. It's about taking control, even if it's just over one small aspect of our day. That initial act can feel like the first domino in a chain reaction of positive habits. These self-improvement journeys, they're not just about the specific habit, they're about the underlying desire for growth, for a sense of agency in a chaotic world. We see others share their transformations, and a part of us wonders, could that be me? Could I also find that clarity, that discipline, that supposed secret source to a more intentional life? The internet is flooded with these experiments, and for good reason. They offer a tangible starting point, a structured path in the often murky waters of personal development. My own journey into this specific 30-day experiment of waking up at 5 a.m. wasn't born out of a sudden epiphany. Would it make me more productive, more creative, or just more tired? And as I embarked on that pre-dawn routine, I realized it was a gateway. It opened up space and mental energy to explore other areas of self-mastery. So in this video, we're not just talking about early mornings. We'll dive deep into the broader theme of self-discipline, the surprising impact of a no-phone challenge, and even the shocking benefits of cold showers. These aren't just isolated stunts, they're interconnected pieces of a larger puzzle. The 5 a.m. experiment was the catalyst, the framework for a month of intense self-reflection and habit building. We'll break down what I learned from each of these distinct challenges, the struggle, the small wins, the unexpected insights, and whether these changes actually stick. Because it's one thing to do something for 30 days and another entirely to integrate it meaningfully into your life. Let's get into it and see what really happens when you intentionally disrupt your comfort zone. Self-discipline. It's often seen as a superpower for high achievers, but it's simply doing what you should even when you don't want to. It's choosing long-term gain over short-term comfort. Discipline bridges aspiration and accomplishment. It's about creating freedom from procrastination. Think about any area you want to improve. Discipline is the key to consistent progress. A 30-day challenge can build this crucial skill. Imagine the impact on your daily life. Small, disciplined choices lead to big results. There's a unique psychological appeal to the 30-day challenge. It offers a clean slate, a defined period to try on a new way of being. It's like hitting a reset button on your habits. A 30-day challenge provides a clear starting line and a visible finish line. This defined end point makes the undertaking feel less daunting, more like a sprint than an endless marathon. The structure itself is a powerful tool. This clarity removes ambiguity and makes it easier to measure progress and hold yourself accountable. Each day you succeed is a small victory, a reinforcement of your commitment. Why does self-discipline feel so difficult to cultivate and maintain? Part of the answer lies in our biology. Our brains are wired for immediate gratification, a relic of our evolutionary past. This clashes with the modern world's demands for long-term planning. That donut now feels more compelling than future health. This internal tug-of-war is a constant battle. We often misunderstand what discipline truly entails. It's less about brute force and more about creating supportive systems, making the right choices easier and the wrong choices harder. True discipline is about designing an environment where it's the path of least resistance. Transforming self-discipline in 30 days isn't about grand gestures, but small daily wins. Each small action is a deposit into your self-discipline account, compounding over time. This practice recalibrates your identity, proving you can be disciplined. Small wins build belief, fueling further action and creating an upward spiral of positive change. We often talk about willpower or self-discipline as if it's a fixed trait. You either have it or you don't. But I've found it's much more accurate to think of discipline as a muscle. Like any muscle in your body, it can be strengthened with consistent training and intentional effort. And just like a muscle, it can also atrophy from disuse. A 30-day challenge is essentially a focused workout program for your discipline muscle. Each day, you show up and do the thing you committed to, especially when you don't feel like it. You're doing a rep, making that muscle a little bit stronger. Consider how you'd train for a physical feat, like running a 5K if you've never run before. You wouldn't expect to just go out and run the full distance on day one. You'd start small, maybe with walking, then jogging short distances, gradually increasing the intensity and duration. It's the same with self-discipline. You start with a manageable commitment, something that stretches you but doesn't break you. The 30-day time frame provides the consistency needed for that gradual strengthening. You're building endurance, resilience, and the capacity to override momentary discomfort for a larger purpose. The initial days of any discipline challenge are often the hardest. Much like the first few workouts after a long break, your muscle is weak and the resistance feels intense. This is where many people give up, but if you push through that initial discomfort, you'll find that it gradually gets easier. Not because the task itself changes, but because your capacity to handle it increases. Your discipline muscle adapts and grows stronger. The internal chatter that tries to convince you to quit becomes a little quieter, a little less persuasive, as you build a track record of overcoming it. It's also important to remember that, like a muscle, your discipline can get fatigued. Trying to be hyper-disciplined in all areas of your life simultaneously can lead to burnout. That's why focusing on one key habit or area during a 30-day challenge is so effective. It allows you to channel your energy and build strength in a targeted way. Once that specific discipline becomes more ingrained, more automatic, it requires less conscious effort, freeing up mental resources to then tackle another area if you choose. Anyone who has undertaken a 30-day challenge, or any significant habit change for that matter, knows that the journey is rarely a straight line upwards. There will be days when your motivation plummets, when unexpected obstacles arise, or when you simply don't perform as well as you'd hoped. These dips and plateaus are not signs of failure. They are an inevitable part of the process of building self-discipline. The real test of your growing discipline isn't whether you avoid these challenges, but how you respond to them when they occur. One common experience is the middle slump. The initial excitement of the challenge has worn off, but the finish line still feels distant. This is often when old habits try to creep back in and your resolve is truly tested. It's crucial during these times to reconnect with your why. Why did you start this challenge in the first place? What's the bigger purpose behind cultivating this discipline? Reminding yourself of the benefits you're seeking can provide the necessary fuel to push through the dip, to keep showing up even when it's hard and the rewards aren't immediately apparent. Plateaus can also be frustrating. You might be putting in the same amount of effort, but you stop seeing the same rate of progress. This is normal in any skill acquisition, including the skill of self-discipline. It might mean that you need to adjust your approach slightly, introduce a new micro-challenge within the larger one, or simply practice patience and trust the process. Sometimes a plateau is a sign that the habit is consolidating, becoming more automatic, even if it doesn't feel like you're making leaps and bounds. Persistence during these times is key to long-term success. The most important thing when you encounter a setback, maybe you miss a day or fall back into an old pattern, is to avoid the what the hell effect. This is where one small slip-up makes you feel like you've failed completely, so you might as well give up altogether. Instead, practice self-compassion. Acknowledge the slip, learn from it if possible, and then get right back on track with the very next opportunity. True discipline isn't about perfection, it's about relentless consistency and the ability to recover from imperfections without abandoning the entire endeavor. Completing a 30-day self-discipline challenge is a significant accomplishment. You've proven to yourself that you can commit to a new behavior and see it through. But what happens on day 31? The real goal isn't just to survive a month of heightened discipline, it's to integrate the lessons learned and the habits formed into your life for the long haul. The challenge itself is a training ground, a catalyst, but the true transformation occurs when these disciplined actions become a sustainable part of who you are and how you operate. This requires a conscious effort to transition from a temporary project to an ongoing practice. One key aspect of this transition is reflection. Take some time after the 30 days to assess what worked, what didn't, and what you learned about yourself. Did the specific discipline you focused on genuinely improve your life? Did it feel sustainable? Perhaps you need to adjust the intensity or frequency. For example, if you committed to a rigorous 1-hour workout every day, maybe a more sustainable long-term approach is 30 minutes, 5 days a week. The 30-day challenge gives you valuable data to make these informed decisions for the future. Another important step is to think about how to maintain momentum without the explicit structure of a daily challenge. This might involve setting new, smaller goals, finding an accountability partner, or continuing to track your progress, albeit perhaps less intensively. The systems and routines you develop during the 30 days are valuable assets. Don't just discard them. Identify the most effective strategies you used. Maybe it was preparing things the night before or having a specific time slot for the activity, and consciously continue to implement them. Ultimately, the aim is for the discipline to become less about forcing yourself and more about aligning your actions with your values and long-term vision. It's about making conscious choices that support the kind of life you want to live. The 30-day challenge can be a powerful kickstart, building that initial muscle and self-belief. But true, lasting self-discipline is an ongoing journey of refinement, adaptation, and recommitment. It becomes a way of being, not just something you did for a month. It starts subtly, doesn't it? That almost imperceptible vibration you think you feel in your pocket, or the faint imaginary chime of a notification. The phantom buzz, it's a modern malady, a testament to just how deeply these little rectangles of glass and metal have embedded themselves into our nervous systems. Our smartphones, initially tools of connection and convenience, have for many of us morphed into a kind of digital leash, constantly tugging at our attention, tethering us to an endless stream of information, updates and demands, whether real or perceived. This constant connectivity, this state of being perpetually on call to the digital world, has profound implications. We carry these devices with us everywhere, to the dinner table, into the bedroom, even into the bathroom. The boundaries between our online lives and our offline existence have become increasingly blurred, almost to the point of non-existence. The expectation, both internal and external, is often one of instant availability, instant response. This creates a low hum of anxiety, a feeling that we might be missing out on something crucial if we're not constantly checking in, scrolling, refreshing. A no-phone challenge, or even a significantly reduced phone usage challenge, forces us to confront this dependency head-on. It's not just about abstaining from a device, it's about examining our relationship with it. Why do we reach for it so compulsively? What voids are we trying to fill with that endless scroll? Is it boredom, loneliness, a desire for validation, or simply a deeply ingrained habit that now operates on autopilot? The initial moments of a phone detox can be surprisingly uncomfortable, highlighting just how automatic that reach and scroll reflex has become. The goal of such a challenge isn't necessarily to demonize technology or advocate for a Luddite existence. Phones are incredibly powerful tools that offer immense benefits, but it's about reclaiming agency, about making conscious choices regarding how and when we engage with them, rather than being passively pulled along by their addictive design. It's about loosening that digital leash so that the phone serves us, rather than the other way around. One of the most immediate and profound benefits of reducing screen time, particularly from our smartphones, is the potential to reclaim our focus. We live in an age of unprecedented distraction. Our attention is the new currency, and countless apps and platforms are expertly designed to capture and hold it for as long as possible. The constant barrage of notifications, pings, and alerts fragments our concentration, making it incredibly difficult to engage in deep work, meaningful conversation, or even quiet contemplation. We're conditioning our brains for constant interruption. A no-phone challenge, even if it's just for specific hours of the day or certain days of the week, acts like a training camp for your attention span. By removing the primary source of these micro-distractions, you create an environment where your mind can settle. Initially, this might feel strange, even a bit agitating. You might find yourself reaching for your phone out of habit, only to remember it's not there, or it's turned off. But over time, as that compulsive urge subsides, you begin to experience moments of sustained concentration that might have felt elusive before. Think about the tasks that require deep focus: writing, coding, strategic thinking, learning a new skill, or even just being fully present in a hobby. These activities thrive in an environment of uninterrupted attention. When your phone is constantly vying for your mental resources, you're essentially trying to do important work with a significant handicap. Reducing phone use isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about actively creating the mental space necessary for higher quality thinking and more profound engagement with the task at hand. The clarity that can emerge is often surprising. This reclaimed focus isn't just beneficial for productivity, it enhances our overall experience of life. When we're less distracted, we're more present with the people around us, more attuned to our surroundings, more capable of enjoying simple pleasures. The richness of an offline experience can be dulled when a part of our mind is always wondering what's happening on a screen. A phone detox can help us rediscover the joy of undivided attention, both for our work and for our lives outside of it, leading to a deeper sense of engagement and satisfaction. Beyond focus and productivity, there's a compelling mental health argument for intentionally reducing our phone usage. The curated perfection often displayed on social media can fuel comparison and feelings of inadequacy. We're constantly exposed to highlight reels of other people's lives, which can distort our perception of reality and our own self-worth. This isn't to say social media is inherently bad, but the sheer volume and the often unrealistic portrayals can take a toll on our psychological well-being if consumed without awareness or limits. A break can offer a much-needed reality check. Moreover, the constant influx of information, much of it negative or anxiety-inducing, think news alerts, online arguments, can contribute to heightened stress levels and a sense of overwhelm. Our brains aren't really designed to process the sheer volume of global stimuli that our phones deliver 24/7. Stepping back, even temporarily, can allow our nervous systems to down-regulate to find a calmer baseline. Many people report feeling less anxious, less irritable, and more emotionally stable during periods of reduced phone use. It's like giving your mind a chance to breathe and reset. The impact on sleep is another critical factor. The blue light emitted from screens can interfere with melatonin production, making it harder to fall asleep and reducing sleep quality. And it's not just the light. The stimulating content consumed right before bed can keep our minds racing, preventing us from winding down effectively. Implementing a no phone in the bedroom rule or stopping phone use an hour or two before sleep can lead to significant improvements in both the ease of falling asleep and the restfulness of that sleep, which in turn has massive knock-on effects for mood and cognitive function. Finally, excessive phone use can sometimes exacerbate feelings of loneliness, despite its promise of connection. Superficial online interactions can't always replace the depth and nuance of face-to-face human connection. When we're constantly mediating our relationships through screens, we might miss out on the richer, more fulfilling interactions that occur in person. A phone challenge can encourage us to be more intentional about seeking out genuine, present-moment connections with the people in our lives, which is a cornerstone of good mental health and overall well-being. Embarking on a no-phone challenge, or even a less-phone challenge, can feel daunting, given how integrated these devices are in our lives. Success often hinges on having a clear plan and some practical strategies in place. First, define what the challenge means for you. Is it no phone at all for a certain period? No social media apps? No phone after a certain hour? Be specific about your rules. Vague intentions like "I'll use my phone less" are much harder to stick to than concrete guidelines like no phone use between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Next, prepare your environment and your device. Turn off as many notifications as possible. You'd be surprised how many apps are constantly vying for your attention with non-urgent alerts. Consider deleting problematic apps temporarily, or at least moving them off your home screen and into a folder, making them harder to access impulsively. You can also utilize features like grayscale mode, which makes the screen less visually appealing and can reduce the urge to scroll. Informing close friends and family that you'll be less responsive can also manage expectations. and reduce your own anxiety about missing something urgent. Find alternative activities to fill the void that less phone time will create. This is crucial. If you typically reach for your phone when you're bored, stressed, or procrastinating, you need to have other options readily available. This could be reading a physical book, going for a walk, journaling, pursuing a hobby, or spending time with loved ones. Having these alternatives planned can prevent you from defaulting back to your phone out of sheer habit or a lack of anything else to do. The goal is to replace the old habit with newer, more intentional ones. Finally, track your progress and be kind to yourself. There might be moments when you slip up, and that's okay. The key is not to let one slip derail the entire challenge. Acknowledge it, learn from it, and recommit to your plan. Consider using a simple habit tracker or journaling about your experience, noting how you feel, what triggers your phone use, and what benefits you're noticing. This self-awareness is a powerful tool for making lasting changes. My experience with a no-phone period was a mixed bag of insights. Mental clarity and focus increased, and anxiety reduced. Conversations felt more engaging, and mundane moments became opportunities for observation. However, the initial boredom was intense. I rediscovered other ways to engage my mind. The force of habit was incredibly strong. Lasting change requires strategic environmental design and healthier habits. The no-phone challenge isn't about abandoning devices but fostering a conscious, purposeful engagement. Recognize that you are in control. Set boundaries and choose phone-free hours. Integrate technology to support your values and goals. Use your phone as a tool, not a master. Maintaining lower screen time after the initial intensity of a challenge has faded requires ongoing effort and smart strategies. It's easy to slip back into old habits if you're not vigilant. One of the most effective long-term tips is to continue with some form of digital hygiene routine. This could include having designated no-tech zones in your home, like the bedroom or dining table, to create natural breaks. Consistently turning off non-essential notifications also remains crucial, as it reduces the number of times your phone actively tries to pull you back in throughout the day. Another powerful technique is to schedule your phone use rather than letting it be a constant reactive presence. Just as you schedule meetings or workouts, you can allocate specific blocks of time for checking emails, social media, or news. Outside of these blocks, try to keep your phone out of sight and out of mind. This proactive approach helps you manage your phone rather than your phone managing you. It also helps to batch similar tasks, making your phone use more efficient and less likely to bleed into other parts of your day. Continue to cultivate offline hobbies and activities that you genuinely enjoy. The more fulfilling your offline life is, the less appeal the digital world will hold as an escape or a primary source of entertainment. Whether it's sports, creative pursuits, spending time in nature, or engaging in deep conversations with friends and family, these activities provide a rich alternative to passive screen consumption. When your real life is engaging, the pull of the virtual world often lessens significantly, making it easier to maintain a healthy balance. Finally, periodically reassess your relationship with your phone. Habits can creep back in subtly. Maybe once a month or once a quarter, take a moment to check your screen time stats, if your phone provides them, and reflect on whether your usage is still aligned with your intentions. Are there any apps that are consuming too much of your time? Are you finding yourself mindlessly scrolling more often? This regular check-in allows you to make small course corrections before minor slips turn into a full relapse into old patterns, ensuring that your efforts to reduce screen time lead to sustainable long-term change. Alright, so the next frontier in this 30-day gauntlet of self-discipline was one I'd actively avoided for years. Cold showers. Just the phrase itself probably makes a lot of you physically recoil, and trust me, I was right there with you. My mornings were sacred rituals involving the comforting embrace of hot water. It was a non-negotiable part of my routine, a small luxury. The idea of trading that for a shocking, bone-chilling blast felt like a betrayal of common sense. Why on earth would I consider it? Yet the whispers were always there, weren't they? You hear it from productivity gurus, from biohackers. They talk about increased energy, mental clarity, a stronger immune system. I'd largely dismissed it as hyperbole, but a semilla of curiosity had been planted. Could there actually be something to this? This 30-day challenge was about pushing my boundaries. If I was serious about self-discipline, facing something I had a genuine aversion to seemed crucial. It felt like the cold shower was the physical embodiment of mental resistance. It wasn't just about getting clean, it was about a deliberate act of will. It fit the theme perfectly, so I decided to add it to the list. What did I realistically hope to gain? Honestly, my expectations were pretty low. Maybe a jolt of energy, perhaps a pat on the back for enduring it. I wasn't convinced I'd experience any profound transformation. A significant part of me suspected it would just be 30 days of being unpleasantly cold, but the other part was eager to find out if my assumptions were wrong. The moment of truth arrived on day one of this particular segment of the challenge. I remember standing outside the shower, the bathroom warm and steamy from its usual pre-shower run-up, a habit I was about to shatter. There was a definite sense of apprehension, a mental back and forth. Part of me was saying, just do it, get it over with, while the other, more sensible part was screaming, why are you doing this to yourself? There's still time to back out. I took a few deep breaths. A technique I'd heard could help, though in that moment they felt more like the last gasps of a man about to walk the plank into freezing waters. I reached for the faucet, my hand hesitating over the cold tap. There was no easing into this, no gentle transition. I decided to go all in, straight to cold. Turning that knob felt like committing to an irreversible act of minor self-torture. The water hit my skin and it was an absolute shock to the system. Not just cold, but a piercing, breathtaking cold that seemed to suck all the air out of my lungs. My immediate, involuntary reaction was a sharp gasp, followed by an uncontrollable shiver that racked my entire body. Every instinct screamed at me to jump back, to escape the icy assault. Those first few seconds, which stretched into what felt like an eternity, were a pure mental battle. My mind was racing, throwing every excuse, every rationalization, every escape route it could conjure at me. This is ridiculous, this isn't healthy, you're going to get sick, just turn it off. The urge to retreat, to crank the hot water back on and bask in its familiar comfort was overwhelming. I had to consciously fight to stay under the stream, to force myself to endure, focusing on just getting through the next second and then the next. It was a primal experience, a fight against a very basic, ingrained aversion to extreme cold. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it was over. I fumbled for the tap, turned off the water and stepped out gasping and shivering. The immediate sensation was one of profound relief, the kind you feel after narrowly avoiding a disaster. My skin was tingling almost painfully so, but underneath that there was something else. A strange, unexpected surge of pride, accomplishment. It was bizarre. I had faced the icy beast and, in my own small way, conquered it for that day. My mind felt surprisingly clear, almost buzzing. The dread was replaced by a peculiar sense of aliveness, a raw, unadulterated wakefulness I hadn't anticipated at all. Day 2, and the dread was, if anything, even more pronounced. Knowing what was coming didn't make it easier, it just gave my mind more time to build up the anticipatory anxiety. The memory of that initial shock was still vivid, and the thought of willingly subjecting myself to it again felt almost ludicrous. But a commitment is a commitment, especially one you make publicly, even if just to yourself and a camera. So I dragged myself back to the bathroom, the internal monologue of protest firing on all cylinders. Did it get any easier? Marginally, perhaps, but only in the sense that I knew I wouldn't actually perish from the cold. During that first week, I started to experiment a little, desperate to find a way to make the experience less jarring. I tried the gradual approach, starting with lukewarm water and slowly, painstakingly turning the temperature down bit by bit. This felt like prolonging the agony, a slow descent into the icy depths rather than a quick, decisive plunge. Then I went back to the straight-to-cold method, trying to rip the band-aid off, so to speak. I also played around with the duration, initially aiming for just 30 seconds, then a minute, then trying to push it a little longer each day. It was a constant negotiation with myself. Honestly, in that first week, I can't say I noticed any miraculous changes. I was definitely more awake after the shower, but that felt more like a shock-induced alertness than a sustainable energy boost. My skin felt tight, and I was often still shivering for a good 10 minutes afterwards, cocooned in a towel. The primary benefit seemed to be the bragging rights I could claim in my own head for having done the damn thing. It was a testament to stubbornness more than anything else. The thought, is this really worth it, echoed frequently in my mind during those initial 7 days of icy trials. The most significant aspect of that first week was the psychological one. It was about establishing the habit, about making that conscious decision every single day, regardless of how I felt. It was about overriding the powerful, instinctual desire for comfort and warmth. Each cold shower, no matter how brief or how unpleasant, was a small victory for self-discipline. It was a reminder that I could choose to do hard things, even if the immediate reward wasn't apparent. That, perhaps, was the real acclimatization happening. Not my body getting used to the cold, but my mind getting used to the idea of consistent discomfort. As I pushed through that initial week and into the second, I started to delve a little deeper into the why behind cold showers. Beyond the anecdotal claims of heightened alertness, what was supposedly happening to my body and mind? One of the most frequently cited benefits is the cultivation of mental resilience and discipline. The act of voluntarily exposing yourself to something uncomfortable, like a blast of cold water on a regular basis, is said to strengthen your willpower. Improved circulation is a common one, as the cold water causes blood vessels to constrict and then dilate upon warming up, potentially enhancing blood flow. And, of course, the undeniable effect of waking up your entire system, a jolt far more potent than any cup of coffee I've ever encountered. Reaching the halfway point of the cold shower challenge felt significant. The routine was ingrained. Though the shock of the cold water remained, it was still unequivocally cold. My relationship with the experience evolved. The dread was less potent, more familiar. I knew I could get through it, which changed my morning mindset. It became a mental exercise, not just physical. It was about the decision to face it and the clarity that followed. A tool for cutting through morning grogginess. It made me feel intensely alive and present. This mental reframing was crucial for sticking with it. My hot water bill was lower, a minor win. The sense of accomplishment had a positive ripple effect. It made other tasks seem less daunting. I've already had an ice-cold shower. How bad can this email be? This boost in confidence was unexpected. I pondered the sustainability of this habit. The benefits were clear, but so was the effort required. It demanded active participation and daily recommitment. The experience was more nuanced than just enduring icy water. It taught me about my limits and capacity to push them. If you're considering braving the world of cold showers, having a few strategies in your toolkit can make a world of difference. Focusing on my breathing was a game changer. The Wim Hof method helped manage cold exposure. Controlled, deep breathing calmed my fight-or-flight response. Shifting my mindset made enduring the cold purposeful. Consistency was the most important strategy. It wasn't about feeling like it, it was about doing it anyway. After 30 days of icy showers, the final cold shower arrived. It felt different, almost nostalgic. The shock was there, but so was a sense of completion. I reflected on the journey from aversion to acceptance. It was a test of will, a personal victory. The benefits, energy, alertness, and clearer skin. It built mental resilience and discipline. The freeze was definitely worth it. So that's a wrap on my 30-day journey through early mornings, phone-free hours, and icy cold showers. It's been quite the experience, diving into self-discipline and the benefits of discomfort. Waking up at 5 a.m. unlocked quiet productivity and calm before the world awoke. The no-phone challenge brought presence and mental clarity. Cold showers were a lesson in resilience and building mental fortitude. Try one of these challenges for yourself and discover what you're capable of. Share your stories, and let's build a community around growth. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.